Welcome to Worship with the Unitarian Universalist Community of Charlotte. I'm Eve Stevens. My pronouns are she, her, and I am one of the ministers of this congregation. Scholar and practitioner of Islam Omid Safi writes about a trip he took to visit the redwood trees in California. Safi and his partner walked around for hours, tilting their necks back to gaze up, and up the enormous trunk of each ancient tree. Eventually, in part to rest his neck, Safi looked down and noticed the remains of one of these giants. There was a portion of trunk left, charred and splintered, perhaps after a lightning strike burned it to the ground. A nearby sign explained that despite such terrible damage, the tree was not dead. Below the ground, its massive root system was full of vitality. Before long, hundreds of young, bright green sprouts began to come up around the circle formed by the root crown of the original tree. Safi had to smile, marveling at the vibrant hidden life below ground. The resilience impossible to notice without slowing down to take a closer look. This summer, we are celebrating our own deep vitality by exploring together what roots us. We're honoring our most vital and life-giving relationships, experiences, and commitments. All that not only makes us who we are, but grounds us in our daily living, too. As we take time to notice and give thanks, we find the hidden store of resilience and vibrancy in those roots. This morning, we will hear from two of our members, Justine Busto, who will light the chalice with her hubby, Jared Brown, and Sarah Cole, who grew up in this congregation and is with us as an adult to share her wisdom this morning. Welcome. Welcome to this service celebrating resilience and vibrancy. I invite you now to head to our public Facebook page and exchange greetings with one another under today's welcome post.
Good morning. I'm Justine Busto.
And I'm Jared Brown. And this morning we're lighting this flame as a symbol of the fire that burns at the center of our family, of our community, and of our Unitarian Universalist faith.
And the candle is inside our chalice today in the circle of humanity. And this circle of humanity is encircled by nature, represented by the beautiful trees in this spot in the North Carolina mountains.
I want to provide a special welcome to our guests, those of you who have maybe been checking us out, seeing what these services are like for a week or two, and those of you visiting us for the first time, whether on August 1st or sometime in the future. We're so glad that you're here. My colleague, our membership coordinator, Kelly Green, has posted a greeting to you on our public Facebook page if you are watching this service on Sunday morning. You can respond to her there if you like to get better connected and learn more about who we are and what we have to offer, or if you'd like to become a member. You can also send Kelly an email. Email Kelly, Kelly, at uuccharlotte.org. And I encourage you to head over to explore our website. You can also subscribe to our e-newsletter Currents, and those are the best ways to find out on a daily basis what's going on here and how you can get involved. Again, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah. My pronouns are she, her, and I'd like to talk about some formative experiences that played a big part in making me the person I am right now. I grew up in this church, so most of you watching this probably know that as a kid, I had a lot of issues, regulating my emotions, dealing with other kids, staying focused on important stuff. Well, Mom signed me up for karate classes specifically to remedy the attention part. The way she explained it to me, she'd heard that martial arts was particularly good for kids with attention issues. Some of it might also have been because I didn't really gravitate to any of the other sports Dad tried to teach me and my brother, but that's irrelevant. Considering that I stuck with karate from, I guess, 4th grade through 2017 when I started living on UNC Charlotte campus and thus couldn't really make the trip down to South End with all my stuff multiple times a week and still have the time and energy to do all my university homework, Mom was a lot more right than she knew. I didn't really go into karate with the expectation that I was going to get my black belt, though. It was just a thing that I liked doing, and I ended up being okay. I have a brown belt in Jeet Kune Do at the moment. I liked the moves you're learning. I liked watching the other kids at work. While I was in college, it was more a habit and for the physical exertion than anything else. If nothing else, martial arts is a really good workout. It also helped that I was friends with all the kids in my age group, and one of them became my boyfriend 7 years ago, so that helped. Anybody who's done any kind of competitive sport, especially martial arts, I think, will tell you that you learn a hell of a lot more than just new and exciting ways to hit people. You learn how important it is to practice something, not just multiple times, but practice it well. One of the things I remember Sensei Price saying to us all the time is practice makes permanent. Only perfect practice makes perfect. You learn how to channel your emotional energy into fighting without letting it completely overwhelm you. It's a little hard to explain, but I remember one of the older kids explaining during a sparring match that there was a difference between using your anger as fuel and fighting out of anger. I was one of the smallest kids in the group, so I got mad a lot. You also learn a little bit about the kind of person you are and how you respond to stress, and how to keep going, even when what you really want to do is collapse on the mats and cry. The other major experience I want to mention is something a lot more personal. And that's the fact that I've been in psychotherapy for multiple years. I don't actually remember the first time I walked into a therapist's office. I looked in a journal I used to keep in middle school and high school for some additional context. The first time I mentioned seeing a therapist was in April of 2009, which isn't that much context to go on, but it's better than having nothing, so I thought I should include it. I already knew going into therapy that, what was going on in my head, kind of, that I have Asperger's and ADD. And it also helped, I think, that I was on that we'd found the right kind of medication for me to, get through a school day. So the first and most important thing I got out of therapy was a reassurance that having Asperger's didn't make me wrong or broken. Now, this isn't to say I wasn't a complete idiot. At some points, I definitely was. But, my first therapist always, he'd ask almost every session, why are you like that? And even if I didn't have an answer, he'd say, you're wired that way. It wasn't good or bad. It's just a thing that happens to be true about my brain. It also really helped, I think, that I had a couple different professionals I could talk to and explain everything that goes on in my head and have them help me figure it out. There's this cartoon you might have seen on the internet. It's these two guys in armchairs. They're facing each other. There's a speech bubble above the guy on the left, the viewer's left, and it's just 3 different lines all tangled together. But each of the lines is coming out of that speech bubble to a speech bubble over the second guy's head. And in that speech bubble, the lines are balls of yarn. I find that a really good metaphor for what therapy has helped me out with. There's a line in a John Mayer song I think about when I think about myself. I'm in repair. I'm not together, but I'm getting there. Thank you very much.
This is a poem by Derek Walcott entitled Earth. Let the day grow on you upward through your feet, the vegetal knuckles, to your knees of stone, until by evening you are a black tree. Feel with evening the swifts thicken your hair, the new moon rising out of your forehead, and the moonlit veins of silver running from your armpits like rivulets under white leaves. Sleep as ants cross over your eyelids. You have never possessed anything as deeply as this. This is all you have owned from the first outcry through forever. You can never be dispossessed.
Good morning. I'm Justine Busto, and I'm speaking to you under the refreshing shade of an almost 300-year-old red oak tree in Ashe County, North Carolina. This grandmother tree is in a family cemetery. Not my ancestors directly, but the ancestors of the people who built the house that's down the hill. that my husband Jared and I and other family members bought about 15 years ago. And if you're a member of the UU Adventure Group, or if you've ever been up here on an adventure group hike, you'll recognize this spot. And hopefully, if you haven't come here, you'll come one day. So when Eve asked me to write a reflection for this service, I thought I have to do it in the lap of this beautiful grandmother oak. Eve also mentioned to those of us sharing reflections that we should think about how a tree draws nutrients, water, food, its life up from the soil through its roots. And also how trees connect and communicate with other trees and other living organisms through their roots. And that second aspect of roots is something I've only recently become aware of. Through several books I've been reading, a novel called The Overstory, and a wonderful book written by a forester called The Hidden Life of Trees, I've learned more about what's called the mycorrhizal network that helps trees not only receive nutrients from the soil, but also send and communicate with other trees. And very simply, it's the thread-like root tips of a tree connect with the thread-like filaments of fungi, and the fungi helps bring nutrients to the tree, and the tree shares up to 30% of its bounty that it received from the sunlight, the sugars, with the fungi. Well, I always thought that was just an individual kind of network, the tree taking care of itself. But scientific research lately has shown us that trees can communicate through that network. In fact, when one tree nearby is suffering and needs more nutrients, a tree will actually send and share its nutrients with that tree through that network. So in thinking about that and realizing that I always thought trees were such loners and such strivers, spreading out their branches to the sun and getting as much as they can for themselves, sometimes blocking out other trees, and also pulling things, sucking things up through the earth, through their roots. I always thought of them as loners, but learning that they are really community dwellers leads me to my answer, to my long answer to the question, what roots me and what grounds me? And I would have to say community. And when I say community roots and grounds me, I more specifically would answer my husband, Jared Brown, who's an excellent community builder. And he introduced me to Unitarian Universalism. And through the UUCC, I've met so many wonderful people and made friends. And growing alongside this community has really helped root and ground me. In addition to community, I would answer communication. I just retired from a 28-year career as an English teacher to speakers of other languages. And so helping people coming from other countries find their voice in a new language, helping people find their roots, and helping people feel part of community rather than in isolation. That's been what I have dedicated my last 28 years professionally to. So that's also a big part of what makes me who I am and what roots and grounds me. I'd also say stories. I love stories. I love to read, especially folk tales, fairy tales, world literature. So I'm looking forward to having more time to write and work on my own stories in this retirement that I'm entering. I would want to add one other community to my answer. Another community here in Charlotte that roots and grounds me is the Insight Meditation Community of Charlotte. I'm working on training and taming my active mind and developing my own meditation practice, but I've learned that it's in community where I really develop and grow. So I really recommend the Insight Meditation Community as another community here in Charlotte. But I'm not in Charlotte now. I'm up in the North Carolina mountains, and I want to say that I'm so grateful for this opportunity to share and reflect a little bit on myself and my life in community. And this is coming from a wonderful retreat up here in the North Carolina mountains in the lap of this wonderful grandmother oak tree. Blessings.
stand side by side.
Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side.
Draw the circle wide.
Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide.
Weather permitting, following this service, you can join us on our grounds at 234 North Sharon Amity, where we will be gathering for Summer Sing at 11. And families with kids at home, you can join us at 11, and then at 11:15, we'll head to the Tire Swing Playground to play some group games and drink some icy lemonade. There are lots more opportunities to connect this summer through the Rooted In series. You can join small group conversations with others about music, food, art, movies, that root you. Also, fittingly for our summer theme, you can join others in this community for a tour of some of Charlotte's oldest and grandest trees. You can find more information about any and all of these events through Currents. Mingled with the joy of reconnecting in person with people we love this summer, there's also the anxiety of, among other things, COVID variants and the news of more and more extreme weather events around the world and the loss of life and destruction they cause. We send our love outward from this community to the people of the world suffering from COVID. We send our love out to those feeling isolated again. We send our love outward into every overwhelmed and overburdened ecosystem. And we send our love inward into this community, this coming together of lives. We send our love to one another, celebrating with those who are celebrating birthdays, anniversaries, the arrival of babies, and goodness knows what else. And we send our love to those who are grieving, who are healing, who are facing something heavy and challenging in the days ahead. In particular, this week, we hold in our prayers Rich and Nancy Green as Rich continues to recover from a health concern.
As we pass the virtual hat, I'd like to give you a quote from John Powell. Communication works for those who work at it. I think that applies to a community just as well. You know, it may take a village to raise a child, but we gotta help raise each other too. So please give whatever you can using the methods you're about to see on screen. Thank you.
If you are a member of our congregation, or if you subscribe to Currents, you read a letter from me this week sharing that this congregational year will be my last on staff at the UUCC. I have loved ministry all of my adult life thus far. I remember someone asking me why I didn't want to go into chaplaincy instead, and I wanted to work with congregations. And so much of the answer to that was that I loved watching people, not just in an intense moment of crisis or celebration, but through all the highs and lows and daily life that we get to enjoy together in community. I love and feel honored to be part of your lives each week, and for some of you more than once a week. I also, like so many of you, spent this past year of the pandemic reflecting consciously and unconsciously on so many of the questions that we're always asking ourselves here. To what do you give your heart? To what is your life committed? And this profound longing came over me to simplify my life and spend a lot more of my time with my kids. I have a 3-year-old, soon to be 4, and a 1-year-old, and I do not want to miss being fully present and slowing things down during this precious time when they're so little and actually enjoy my company and want me around. And so I am going to savor our next year together. And I'll be honest, I've had a number of good cries this week, and there are a number of good cries ahead. Leaving is not an easy thing, and I love this community. I'm honored to serve as one of your ministers, and I look forward to holding you all close, especially as we transition more to in-person all year long. Reach out anytime. We'll have conversation, coffee, and thank you for holding my news with such compassion, and for so many of you who have responded in such kind ways that ministered to my heart in a time when I needed it. So thank you. On this first day of August, I invite you to bask with me for a moment in the height of summer. Breathe more deeply. Maybe call to mind, as you close your eyes, a recent experience outdoors. Maybe one moment when you allowed your body to relax into the humidity, into the heat, and felt this week the coming forward of August to hold you in this moment in your life, remind you of the earth's abundance and color, vibrancy. And as you feel that humidity on your skin and breathe deeply, I offer you this poem by Mary Oliver entitled August. When the blackberries hang swollen in the woods, in the brambles nobody owns, I spend all day among the high branches, reaching my ripped arms. thinking of nothing, cramming the black honey of summer into my mouth. All day my body accepts what it is. In the dark creeks that run by, there is this thick paw of my life darting among the black bells, the leaves. There is this happy tongue. Don't miss it. I know it's hot, but August will not be here forever. Amen. Be well as you go into the week ahead. Know that whatever you are facing, this community is with you. You are not alone. May you indulge your curiosity daily, hold close people you love, and revel in the beauty of summer. Be well.